Hey everybody, Shark Scrapper here. Well, it is time to strip some copper. I talk about copper frequently on my Sunday live streams. That's Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern U.S. Coast Time. And many of you have heard me say that I treat copper as more of a strategic metal. So I keep some of it behind, waiting for prices to rise, and then there's some of my copper material that I sell as part of my cash flow. Now, nice big thick copper wire, like insulated copper wire like this, I like to strip, but it's not always in nice manageable lengths like this. So let's take a look at how this process unfolds. Come on, let's dive in. My heavy grade or really thick insulated copper wire comes to me from my electrician clients. So it can come in short little lengths like you saw earlier, or these big long coiled up pieces. The big long coiled up pieces are somewhat difficult to work. The stripper that I use from StripMeister will handle it without any trouble, but because it coils up and wraps around, it's just difficult to manage. So I was trying to figure out a good way to cut them into manageable lengths, and we solved that problem with a small investment. This is my DeWalt DCE 150. They have a couple of different iterations of this, and there are some other manufacturers that make wire cutting tools. I like the robustness of the DeWalt. I like how it's a tough, good quality machine. It'll cut good, thick copper cable. You've seen me doing that on some of my videos already. So now how about let's go ahead and get some of this copper cut up and get ready for going over to the StripMeister. I always wear gloves when I'm doing stuff around the shop. It just protects me against the inadvertent cut because, you know, sharp objects, things happen. All right, now the DeWalt wire cutter, this is uses the 20 volt max battery. I've got one of the heavier batteries on it. It helps to compensate for the weight of the machine. Plus, if I'm walking around, I can put it on a strap, and that helps it to be a little easier to carry around as well. But on the bench, I'd leave it off the strap, and here's your blade part right here, and you'll see how it'll wrap around the cable and cut, and then how I can move pretty quickly with it. And then by just letting it run through like that, it's ready to just flip back over on another length of wire. When the wire gets kinked up like this, it's best to straighten it out. You'll see when we put it on the wire stripper that these kinks, even though the StripMeister is a very good machine and it can handle kinks like this, it's just easier to manage when you kind of straighten it out a little bit. Now we've got one of the longer lengths of cable, so I'll just measure it into some reasonable lengths here. Just about the width of the table. Yeah, that's a long one. Now, can you do this by hand? Sure. Watch, here's I have a hand cable cutter right here. And so you can do this by hand. So you don't have to invest in a big expensive. You can use a nice, a good heavy duty hand cable cutter works well too, but that gets a little bit hard on the wrist after a while. And when you're doing a lot of cutting, it'll add up quick, the strain on your wrist. And although I don't demonstrate it here, you can put multiple pieces of wire in the cutter at the same time and cut through 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces at one time, depending upon the thickness of the wire. Let's do 6. 3, 6. No problem. 7? Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's 7 pieces. All right, so that's my DeWalt cable cutter, the DCE 150. A highly recommended tool. All right, let's go on over and take a look at our Stripmeister. If you're interested in this or any of the tools that you see me using, check out the link to my Amazon store in the description down below. Yes, I do get a commission whenever you follow that link and buy something from Amazon, and I greatly appreciate that. Here is my Stripmeister model DCD85-90V. You can see this is a good quality machine. It's designed with functionality and safety in mind. So you can adjust the cutting height with this wheel. You can even do that while you're stripping, which is a very nice feature. You've got safety guards here, guides for your wires. If you exceed this size here, then you have an adjustable set here. So all you do is lower the bottom one and then adjust the top one for the height of the cable that you're putting in there. And then you can see the blade right in there, and you adjust that with the wheel. So it's very easy. Now, the other thing I want to point out is the grabber wheel, the friction wheel. They've done a lot of design work to make sure that that will grab hold time and time and time and time again. I've never had it spin out and give me trouble when stripping wire. They have an emergency stop feature on here, which is very nice. And unlike a lot of the lesser expensive Amazon models, the way this works is you have a power on, and then you can adjust the speed. So you can do a slow feed to make sure you've got your depth setting right. And then once you are confident that your depth is set right, then you can speed it up and get to work. So very, very well designed tool here. This is sort of mid-range for them. They have some lesser expensive models, still good quality machines. They have ones that are designed where you can attach your hand drill to it as well. But when I'm in a stripping mode, I tend to go through a lot of wire. So I want to have a good quality machine that I know is going to work time and time and time again. Now, I did a video where I was comparing this to that Amazon model that a lot of people end up buying. I'll have a link to it either in the description, up here somewhere, or at the end of this video, so that you can look at the two models side by side. Now, this should give you an idea of some of the wire that I have stripped, various thicknesses and sizes of copper cable, and sort of stuff that's in stage. And then my normal setup here at this bench, I've got the trash, a catch bin, the cable will strip out in that direction. It can fall over there. I've got a bin there that'll catch some of it. And so I'll bring over a bin of cut pieces here, and that way I can quickly grab them, put them through the machine, and then throw away the sheathing, the insulation, and then grab another piece. At least sort of that's the general flow of how this works. All right, so when you adjust this block, what you want to do is you want to come down here so you can see the wheel, the friction wheel, or the grabbing wheel, and you want it to be just a little bit above the bottom of this circle going in. That way it can grab hold of the wire. And then we're going to bring the blade down by turning clockwise until we can just barely see it. Now, when we put our wire in, right now it's not moving. That's a good thing. And you see this downward angle that I have? See this angle? So that the wire is coming up into the hole, or it's down from the hole. That is a good way to feed your wire in there. It'll help the friction wheel to grab hold of it and pull it in. All right, now we're going to give a little speed. And we'll put the wire in. Now that clumping sound is telling me I'm too deep. And you can see what's happening. It's cutting the copper as well. And we don't want that, because what we're going to end up with is a bunch of needles. So let's back this off by going counterclockwise a full turn. And now we're going to, this is one of the benefits of this machine. We run it a little bit. That looks like that's really nice. It's just barely cutting the insulation. It's cutting the insulation, maybe a little bit hanging on there, but it's not cutting the copper anymore. So I think this is a good setting. So now we can start running this through. And you can see that the way I set this up, when I'm really rolling here, the wire will kind of fall into this bin. Get you a little better situated. And it just, you know, that way I don't have to keep sweeping it up off of the floor. Yeah, it doesn't catch all of it, but it does a reasonably good job. And then you can see here now that you can see the marks from where the teeth were grabbing hold of the insulation to pull it through. And here you can see how we've cut through now the insulation, but not the copper. So what you're trying to avoid, if you cut too deep, you end up with these copper needles. That's very unpleasant. So what you're trying to get is just cutting the insulation and not the copper, because yeah, you don't want to stick yourself. Those things are very sharp. So when you are set right, you won't cut the copper itself. I'm actually still maybe a little bit deep, because I can still see some tiny little marks here on the copper. So I might raise it just a quarter turn, but I was set way too deep in the beginning, and you can see I've got these really sharp copper pieces now. So that's what we don't want, and this is okay. Clockwise is tightened, counterclockwise is loosened. I'm going to go back a quarter turn, and we'll see how that plays. Now, because this is all pretty much the same size, I'm going to go slow on this one a little bit here. Check my depth. Yeah, that looks good. We'll speed it up. See how we've done here. Oh yeah, that's real nice. Yep, very nice. Now you're going to see what's really nice about these powered strippers. Once you have this thing set, you can just crank through this. And just to be clear, I bought this machine and became a Stripmeister affiliate after I'd used it for a while. That's how much I like it. There's a link down below in the description where you can follow it to Stripmeister, and I get a little bit of a commission when you buy a machine using that link. Again, I greatly appreciate it, and I use a portion of those proceeds for our shark research donations. And we get relocated to our next location. I'm going to set up even better than I am right now. Oops. That's what happens when you go the wrong way. So I had it pointed up so it didn't, the wheel didn't grab it properly. Now with the less expensive thing that you find on Amazon, you'd have some real trouble with kinks and turns and such. I know that from experience, and frequently you have to actually pull the wire through because their grabbing wheel or friction wheel is just not designed well. Right down the hole. That's funny. Yeah, we'll be setting up better in our new location. This is me getting used to this machine. All right, so we've got everything cut. We turn the speed down, turn the power off. Grab the two pieces that fell underneath. And now all we have to do is pull the insulation off. One of the tricks that I learned from a Canadian friend of mine, a guy named Cruiser Mac, fun channel, check him out, is you can take this and whack it, and it'll help to split the wire and the cable, I mean the insulation. Plus, sometimes it's fun. Take out a little bit of that aggression. So now we have what's called Bare Bright copper. This is some of the best value that you're going to get for copper. And what I will do is I will put this in my bins. 10% of this I set aside as a strategic reserve. I talk about that on my Sunday live streams. Every Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, East Coast US time. When I talk about copper, I consider it a strategic metal. What that means is that I keep 10% of it aside for when the prices really come up. And then other copper products that I have, I sell for cash flow. This Bare Bright is it makes up my 10% that I set aside. Another trick that you can use to make it easier to get the insulation off is to do a double pass. Because this system does a great job of staying where you set it, and it's pretty fast, there's no big deal. I mean, just run a second pass. Put the wire in with the part that's cut down, and that way you'll cut the opposite side, and the insulation comes off a whole lot easier. Just like that. So there's the cut. We put that part down. And the insulation just comes right off. This is really a good practice for the thicker wires, the thicker cables, because, I mean, you know, you can still pretty easily pull that insulation off. But it's a lot easier on your fingers if you just run it through a second time. Look at that. Now, I don't think that you want to sit around and watch me pull insulation off of cables, so how about if you check out these videos here, over here, and this round one in the middle is to help you to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of Shark Scrapper. We'll see you all on the next one.